The morning sun reflected off the glass walls of one of Manhattan's tallest corporate towers. Inside, the lobby of Vanguard Solutions gleamed with polished marble, shining elevators, and executives in crisp suits rushing past. Among them walked Aisha Thompson, a brilliant black senior project manager, portfolio in hand, headset clipped neatly. She was confident, competent, and impeccably prepared for the big presentation today, her biggest yet. But as she approached the reception desk, the white CEO of the company, who had just arrived for a meeting, paused. He squinted at her, frowning. "Wait, who's this? Is she the janitor?" His words, meant only for a colleague nearby, drifted just far enough for Aisha to hear. Her heart skipped, a mix of disbelief and quiet fury. She had spent years climbing the ranks, leading high-stakes projects, earning every promotion. But in one instant, her identity was reduced to assumptions about her race. The receptionist hesitated, glancing at Aisha. Ma'am, may I help you?" Aisha's voice was calm, but her eyes burned with resolve. "I'm here for the 10 a.m. board presentation. Senior Project Manager Aisha Thompson." The CEO, oblivious to the correction, muttered under his breath, "Oh, right. Sorry." He turned, clearly uncomfortable, as if realizing he had been caught mid-thought. A murmur spread through the lobby. Some employees whispered, others avoided eye contact. But Aisha straightened, adjusted her blazer, and continued toward the elevator. Every step she took was a silent assertion. "I belong here. I earned this, and you will respect it." Aisha Thompson walked down the marble-floored corridor of Vanguard Solutions, heels clicking confidently. Her portfolio, neatly organized with graphs, projections, and key strategy notes, swung lightly in her hand. Years of hard work, long nights, and high-pressure projects had brought her here. The senior project manager preparing for her biggest board presentation. She passed colleagues in tailored suits who nodded politely, some curious glances slipping her way. Everyone knew Aisha's reputation: smart, precise, unshakable under pressure. Yet, as she approached the elevator, the sting from the morning lingered. That fleeting comment from the CEO in the lobby, "Is she the janitor?" refused to leave her mind. It was a reminder that no matter how much she accomplished, assumptions rooted in race still shadowed her. In the quiet of the elevator, she reviewed her slides, rehearsing her points. Every figure, every analysis, every projected outcome had been double-checked. She wasn't just delivering numbers, she was delivering proof that competence transcends bias, that talent could not be questioned without evidence. Outside, Manhattan's skyline glinted in the morning sun, taxis honking and construction cranes lifting beams, a city alive with opportunity. Yet Aisha felt the familiar tension, a world that recognized her skill, yet hesitated to fully accept her presence. As she stepped off the elevator, the boardroom doors loomed large, glass and steel. The CEO already inside, seated at the head of the table, papers spread out before him. Aisha straightened her blazer, adjusted her hair, and reminded herself, this was her space. She had earned it, and today, she would make sure everyone in that room could not deny it. The boardroom hummed with quiet tension as Aisha took her seat. Executives shuffled laptops and documents, some glancing at her with curiosity, others with skepticism. The CEO, still adjusting his suit, gave her a brief nod but avoided eye contact. The unspoken message was clear. Her presence was noticed, but questioned. The presentation began. Aisha's voice was calm, confident, steady. Each slide delivered with precision, every chart backed by rigorous analysis. She outlined project milestones, revenue projections, and strategic recommendations that could secure millions in new contracts. Yet every time she spoke, subtle interruptions came. One senior executive leaned back, smirking slightly. Are you sure about these projections, Ms. Thompson? They seem optimistic. His tone was polite, but the implication lingered. Does she really know what she's talking about? Aisha paused, took a deep breath, and walked them through each assumption, each calculation, with unshakable logic. Her fingers traced the lines on the slide as she spoke, every number impossible to dispute. Slowly, the room shifted. Skeptical eyes softened, murmurs quieted, and some executives scribbled notes with newfound attention. Halfway through, another colleague, an influential board member, spoke up. Interesting. I hadn't considered that risk factor. Can you explain further? Aisha smiled subtly, diving into a detailed breakdown. She wasn't just answering questions. She was dismantling bias with facts and unwavering professionalism. Outside, Manhattan's streets pulsed with energy. But inside, the room was a microcosm of power, perception, and subtle prejudice. Each acknowledgement she earned was a victory. Each skeptical glance she transformed into respect was a step toward reclaiming her rightful space. By the end of the discussion, executives who had questioned her competence now leaned forward, engaged, nodding, making notes. Aisha's presence could no longer be ignored. She had proven her worth in every argument, every calculation, every carefully articulated point. As the meeting adjourned, the CEO scribbled notes silently, a rare expression of acknowledgement flickering across his face. Aisha gathered her materials, heart steady, mind sharp. The room had tested her, not her skill, but her resilience. And she had emerged stronger, more visible, impossible to overlook. A few days later, Aisha returned for the follow-up board meeting. The room felt charged, every chair occupied by executives whose eyes flicked toward her with varying degrees of skepticism and curiosity. The CEO, seated at the head, cleared his throat and glanced at her, a faint smirk of superiority still lingering. As she began presenting the next phase of the project, a senior partner interrupted sharply. Are you confident in these numbers, Ms. Thompson? This seems ambitious. Perhaps over your expertise? A hush fell. The words were polite, but laced with doubt. The subtle bias of someone who had already judged her before she even spoke. Every heartbeat echoed in her ears. For a split second, the weight of all assumptions she had faced over the years pressed down. Then she spoke, calmly, deliberately, each word measured. I have led similar initiatives, analyzed every variable, and prepared for every contingency. My recommendations are based on verified data, rigorous analysis, and proven experience. This is not about ambition. It's about accuracy and results. And my presence in this room is not up for debate. A ripple of shock moved through the room. Some executives leaned back, stunned by her assertiveness. Others exchanged nervous glances. The CEO's smirk faded. His eyes widened slightly, realization dawning that she had claimed her space with authority. As the presentation continued, the initial interruptions fell silent. Each question she answered, each strategy she outlined, reinforced one undeniable truth. Her expertise could not be denied, and neither could her presence. The room, once a landscape of skepticism, transformed into one of acknowledgement and respect. By the end, the CEO cleared his throat, offering a rare nod. The board members, once questioning her, now engaged with genuine attention, taking notes and discussing recommendations seriously. For Aisha, the victory was not in applause, but in reclaiming her rightful place, unshakable and unapologetic. In the days following that meeting, Aisha's story spread quietly but powerfully through Vanguard Solutions. Colleagues who had once questioned her competence began to recognize not only her skill, but the strength it took to command respect in a room where assumptions had almost overshadowed ability. Her presentations were no longer interrupted. Her insights were sought out, valued, and implemented. Beyond the boardroom, Aisha began mentoring young black professionals, guiding them through corporate landscapes where prejudice often lurked beneath polished smiles. She launched workshops, shared strategies for confidence under scrutiny, and inspired others to claim the spaces they had earned. Each success story she helped create became a ripple in the broader fight against bias in corporate America. Walking home one evening, skyscrapers reflecting the fading sunlight, she thought back to the CEO's smirk, the whispered doubts, the subtle dismissals. Wealth, power, and titles could open doors, yes, but they could not erase bias. Respect had to be earned and, at times, courageously asserted. Through it all, Aisha understood one truth. The battles that test us the most are not always fought in the streets, but in rooms where competence meets assumption. By standing firm, she not only reclaimed her space, but also illuminated a path for those who would follow. And in the glow of the Manhattan skyline at dusk, Aisha smiled, knowing that every small victory against prejudice adds up, until the next generation finds it easier to simply belong. Think about it. Aisha Thompson had everything she needed to succeed: skill, experience, and preparation. Yet, for a fleeting moment, her presence was questioned simply because of the color of her skin. That moment could have silenced her, but instead, it ignited her resolve. Here's the question for you. If someone as accomplished as Aisha still faces bias, what does that say about the barriers others face every day? And more importantly, how would you respond when your ability or presence is doubted? Would you step back, or would you stand firm and claim what's rightfully yours? Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us, have you ever had to prove your right to belong? And if you believe stories like Aisha's deserve to be seen, like, shared, and subscribe to support real stories of courage, resilience, and justice.